All right, so Facebook, Marquise, just wanted to touch base with you. As I promised, I was coming to deliver some love today. I've been talking about 15 pounds in 30 days. Let me give you some of the tips. I'm just gonna start giving you guys the program, right? Why hold out? Why I gotta pay? Blah. I'm just gonna give you the program. You wanna know what it is? Today, I'm gonna give you the number one most overlooked secret. And when I say secret, it's the biggest cover-up of all. You ready for this? So as much as I would love to talk about all the wonderful eat this diet, don't eat that diet, and all those things, I want to break it down and get really simple. Your cell needs to be able to, number one, have oxygen in it. Number two, be able to have to eliminate waste. And number three, which works with waste and oxygen, is it needs to be hydrated. The number one secret to weight loss is water. Now, I know you're thinking, Marquise, but that's hogwash. No. You really got to get this. The number one secret to weight loss is water. It's really that simple. Now, I know you're thinking, how is that? Why do you try to make it so easy? I drink my water every day. Okay, let's break it down. Let's really talk about this. Now, for those of you who don't know, the reality is that you need, of course, well, how much should I have? What's up, Pat? At least half your body weight. Now, let's break that down because most of us don't really fully get that. Number one, when we talk about minimums, that psychologically something in us says, I want to do the least possible. Now, if your goal is to get half your body weight, that's minimum, 9 times out of 10, you're actually not getting it. Why? Because you've programmed yourself to set a level that says, this is what I got to get, and if I get close, then I feel good about it. I'm just saying. Number two, minimums were set as the baseline for us to exceed above. Now, I know that, you know that. That's obvious, that's clear, that's simple. But you really got to get it. If that's the minimum, right? Let's figure out how they got the minimum. Now, I love talking about averages. Now, what we have to know is that as a fundamental practice of medicine, doctors are given research and information based on averages, right? Now, if the average is constantly, let me slow that down. I'll repeat that. The information that doctors are given for prescribing, generally speaking, are based on averages. You understand that? But if the average is always declining, meaning if we're constantly becoming more and more overweight, then those numbers are continually being drugged down. They're nowhere near what we would consider optimal. If they were optimal, then they wouldn't be the way they are. They're based upon the mass majority. If the mass majority is unhealthy, then the information you're being given is below the bar. Does that make sense? I mean, if you work out on a regular basis, and you probably do, the information where you're being told you need to get half your body weight is below the bar. It's below the curve for where you are and what you do with your life. And that's a problem. Because just shooting for the minimum, which you don't always reach, we already talked about that, just on how we're wired. Interesting, isn't it, when you slow it down and think about it? So let's talk about, well, how much water am I really supposed to get? Well, that does vary. But there's a couple things you should know. Number one, scientifically proven, the average human utilizes. Now, this is average, and yes, we're talking about averages, but we're talking about adult average. Body weight's not really the focus here. The average adult human uses or utilizes as a normal function of daily capacity or daily function 100 ounces of water. Now, that's just living, breathing, talking, walking. Hey, Jacqueline, good to see you, darling. Judy, I see you. That's not really get that. Just living and breathing. On average, your body's going to use 100 ounces a day. That's not for those of you who work out. That's not for those of you who live in cold weather. That's not for those of you who sleep with heavy blankets. Now, I know you're probably thinking, what? Okay, let's break it down. Let's take it a step further. So, for those of you who live in cold weather, your body's constantly trying to adjust the temperature for all the layers that you're wearing to keep yourself warm. Like literally, like water, it works. water helps your body. It's like the thermostat. It's like the fluid that helps your body regulate its temperature regardless of what the temperature is outside. Because to be honest, if you look at Wim Hof, the Iceman, and others, you'll discover that really it's not cold outside. The problem is our body doesn't have enough water to regulate whatever the outside temperature is. So if you did get enough water, again, we're not talking about the minimum, but if you increased your water, or you realize that you live in a colder climate where you're losing water simply because you're wearing layers in an attempt to stay warm, it means you've exceeded the normal average person who utilizes 100 ounces a day. Now, heavy blanket, that's a great question, Giordani. What about those of you who sleep with heavy blankets? But it's comfortable, it feels so good. Well, again, you force your body to try to regulate your temperature and keep you cool all night long so you don't overheat, which means it's using more water. Kind of like your car. It's using more water to regulate the temperature so you don't overheat, which means that it's taking more than the 100 ounces than it would living, breathing, walking, talking. So now, if you look at those two things, this is just cold climate people, right? If you look at those two things, so if on average you use 100, just living and breathing and existing, then you have the blanket, and then you have the layers, then we gotta at least give you another half gallon, right? Okay, maybe let's give you a quarter gallon. So now we're talking about a gallon at that point. Now we're talking about 128 ounces just living and breathing. That's not going to the gym, friends. So why is that important? When your body's dehydrated, it has to work harder to eliminate and nourish your cells, which means you're at a deficit at a constant. Now throw in those of you who work out. Oh my God. Think about that. Now, if you work out, everyone loves a good sweat when you're working out, right? When you're working out and you're going hard, you're getting your sweat on, what's coming out of your body? We call it sweat, but it's actually water. You're exactly right. So if you are already at a deficit because you live in a colder climate where you've got the blanket and you're wearing the layers in an attempt to stay warm versus allowing the cold to nurture you, you're at 128 ounces right there. Just period. Oh, and that's the minimum. Those of you who work out, and most people do work out. Most people are doing something. They're walking briskly through the mall. They're going to their gyms. They're in the weight loss programs. You're using that much more water. So now we're talking at least 150 ounces of water, potentially 200 depending on how hard you go. Now I know this goes against conventional wisdom that you find on the internet. All you gotta do is the simple math. Look at your lifestyle. Look at how you accommodate for being warm. Look at how often you work out. And then you begin to discover that you actually utilize a whole lot of water. Now I know. You're thinking, that's true, but what do? You hydrate. Now, there's a few things we talk about in the 15 pounds of 30 days lab where we're going to work with our clients to find out how they need to adjust to hydrate based on their lifestyle. But I'm going to give you guys a few tips. Why not? Let me just give you the information. The deal is, you've got to look at your body weight, start at a gallon. Just know that you start at a gallon, and that's minimum, right? Then you look at your lifestyle and you have to adjust. Now, for some people, that might mean up to 2 gallons of water a day. Now, I know there are people out there, no, there's such thing as too much water. You're going to drown your body. Guys, that is such a fallacy. Please stop listening to people who facilitate your need to be small. Did you catch that? We often take the advice of people who will give us advice that fits the situation in which we don't want to change things. That's really unfortunate because that robs us of the opportunity to stretch ourselves and expand into the great person that we actually are. And in the 15 pounds for 30 days lab, that's what we're going to do. We're going to work that out with each individual, what they need, and we're going to give them strategies on how to get the water in. Number one, I wrote it in my book 10 years ago. This is the 10-year anniversary of my book, Monday Again, 4 Essentials for a Healthy Lifestyle, where I talked about water. Now, here's the deal. What's up, V? Look at me and look at me really good. You're a grown individual. Stop complaining that you can't drink water. That's like being a baby. The number of adults, the number of us who complain about getting our water in, but when it's time to be cool, we're real cool. Or when it's time to be sexy, we're a diva. But you can't get water in? What? That's like saying you can't tie your shoe, right? Now, I get it. It may not be that tasty, but what does taste have to do with giving your body what it needs to nurture you, to heal you, to repair, to remove weight, to eliminate, to cause your skin to glisten? I mean, really? That's the excuse? So in the program, we're going to break that down. We're going to tear that up. We're going to find out what's causing you to hide and become small when we talk about such a simple thing, and necessity is water. Here's something about water you need to know. How many of you, what's up, buddy? How many of you guys know this? One, you can live over 40 days without food. Yeah, we could exceed 40 days without food and actually not die. So for those of us who think we're starving, you're never starving. You're never, ever, ever starving. It's just not true. Not if you live in the United States of America, you're not. But we can exceed, our body can actually live and function exceeding 40 days without food. How many days can you go without water? Like, let's really talk about this. How many days can you go without water? 3 to 4. 3 to 4. Only 3 to 4 days. We can only go 3 to 4 days without water and we die. Like, that's it. We die. Like, that's how essential water is to our body's functionality. It's not an idea, guys. It's not something good. It's not a cool saying. It's essential. We can go without food exceeding 40 days, but we can't go without water 3 to 4 days or we die. Our entire system shuts down and we die. That's insane. That's insane. The reason I wanted to bring that out is because it's so critical that you stop playing the water game. You stop hiding behind it, trying to get in as little as you can. I see you, Giordani, drinking water now. Stop playing the game of getting as little water as you can and begin to consume it. Begin to drink it and drink it and drink it. Oh, I just remembered. If you're like me and you like your espresso or your coffee or your tea, that puts you at another deficit. Because for every 1 cup of coffee, you need at least 3 cups of water to come back to a net zero. Fascinating, isn't it? And it's not bad. It's just something you need to know because it might be the exact key that's preventing you from the weight loss. I think it was Davina. She lost 17 pounds during this program, only in the 3-hour seminar, not the 5-week lab that I'm hosting next week, the 3-hour seminar. She lost 17 pounds in the first 10 days with one major shift. Water. Guys, when I tell you that that is the #1 key to weight loss and wellness, I'm not exaggerating. Let's break down the science of it, okay? So you're at least 65% water. At least, right? Your body is 65% water. Now, that's different parts. I see you, Kim. You don't drink coffee. You're right. So you don't have to worry about making up that other 20 ounces. I'm sorry, 8 times 3 is 24 ounces of water to mitigate the coffee. So as you are 65% minimum water, your brain is 85% water. Guys, let's think about this. So we walk around functioning like a desert, like the sand over there, dry, where nutrients can't flow through it like it's supposed to. So waste sits in our body. Like, that's what happens. I mean, this is revolutionary if you get it. And we will spend a lot of time with each client figuring out what's blocking them so they can begin to consume more. Now, I got one more key I want to give you because this is going on a little longer than I thought, and I don't want to keep you too long. Here's a quick strategy on how to get it in. I'm going to give you 2 things, all right? So number 1 is add something to your water. Now, when I'm struggling with my water, and yes, there are times I mentally struggle with my water, I play the game, the kid game that I'm getting on you about. It happens to me where I'll go through a period and I really don't want to drink water. Ridiculousness. Exactly, I agree, right? I add a bunch of lemons to my water. Now, a quarter of the cup might actually be, I see you, Judy, great job. A quarter of my container may be lemons. And I realize that that's not the actual amount of water I'm drinking, but what that does is that helps me consume it. It opens my palate and I want to drink it more. Now, Misha, one of my friends, she also does some coaching at the Gym 360. What she does is she adds blueberries and strawberries and mint leaves and all those great things. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, all those things are refreshing because they're living. They're not dried leaves and things like that. They're fresh leaves going in to help aid her body's desire to drink water. But again, does it have anything to do with taste that we drink water or we don't? No. And that's one of the things we're going to break down in the program. So back to the strategy so I can get off of here. Here is one of the coolest, most simplest, easiest strategies to getting your water in. Okay, I'm going to give you one more tip. Sorry, it's there. And now that I'm giving, I just want to give you all of it. All right, if you're struggling to even get your water in, here's what I want you to do. Now, listen closely. Dr. Bat Mungeldi practiced this several years ago, and he wrote it in his book, Your Body's Many Cries for Water. Because number 1 and number 2 and number 3 and 4, most of the time you aren't hungry, you're thirsty. But to help you contain the water, and I don't mean contain like holding water, I mean like for your cells to absorb it, take a pinch of salt each morning. Only do this for like 3-4 days. You don't need to do this as a habit. This is not what I'm recommending. I'm just saying 3 to 4 days to get you started on increasing your water regimen. Take a pinch of salt, put it right on your tongue in the morning. That's going to help open up your cells so they can absorb the water and retain the water and utilize. Utilize is a much better word. You're going to utilize the water and allow your body and your cells to absorb it so that they can heal and replenish and repair like they're supposed to do without being in a desert. Now, here's that strategy I've been holding out on. Sip your water like you sip your liquor. Yeah, sip. So by sipping 3 to 4 ounces every 20 to 30 minutes, from the moment you wake up till you go to bed, you're guaranteed to get in more than a gallon. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Let's break that down. Okay, so if we're doing 4 ounces every 20 minutes, 4 times 3, 20, we can get 4, so 4 times 3 is 12, so we can get 12 ounces in an hour, right? So at 10 hours in a day, you're at 120 ounces. Now, that's not enough. Remember we talked about minimums earlier? But it positions you to be on the streak of winning. You're closer to winning that day because you're awake more than 10 hours a day, right? So if you throw in another 4 to 5 hours, then you've exceeded a gallon. And for those of you who work out, you must exceed a gallon every day in order to give your body the opportunity to be maximized in terms of healing, repairing, replenishing, and losing weight and getting rid of waste. I met a guy, I don't remember his name right now. I met him when I was just in Florida a couple of weeks ago. He's a diabetic, and he was at one point 367 pounds. When I met him, he was 198. He lost the weight in about a year and a half, about 2 years, roughly 2 years or so. And we were talking about his strategy. And he's like, dude, I pretty much eat whatever I want. I'm not too bad, but I pretty much eat whatever I want. But what I do is I drink 3 to 4 gallons of water a day minimum. I said, what? He said, yeah, I actually trained my body because I was really sick at one point, and I actually caused my bladder to expand. Now listen to the context. I didn't tell you to drink 3 to 4 gallons of water, but he caused his bladder to expand to help his body heal. And as a result of that, of course, he has some different things he has to work through. He can't hold his urine as long as he'd like. But here's the lesson. I didn't even know we could consume that much water. But what he talked about was his weight was just falling off. And here, ladies, why am I telling you this? Many of us worry about when we lose the weight, what are we going to do about our skin? Did you not know your skin is your largest organ? And I know people who lose weight are always concerned about it. Here's the deal. Because water is the great weight loss tool and empowers our cells to get rid of waste and replenish and renew even our skin, he had very little stretch marks. And when I say very little, I mean, I was shocked. There was no flab hanging over or anything like that. Oh, and he doesn't work out. He doesn't work out. So like I told you, I'm going to give you the number one. I've given you the number one weight loss, most overlooked secret on the planet, and that is water. Get it in. 1 sip at a time, 3 to 4 ounces every 20 minutes. Starting from the moment you wake up to the point you go to bed. And because you're doing it in such a small amount, over time, you won't have to go to the restroom. You won't be going to the restroom. Don't worry, well, I have this kind of job where I can't go to the restroom. Number one, if you have a job where you can't go to the restroom, you might want to quit. Going to the restroom is a normal bodily function. But sipping in small amounts allows your body to absorb it and utilize it. And that's the goal. Those of you who are chugging the water, of course you're going to go to the bathroom right away because you're not a flower pot. You don't have something in the bottom to hold it in. You're going to sip that water and allow yourself to absorb it so your body can use it. And before long, you're going to begin to discover that you just don't need that much in terms of clothing, in terms of food. I mean, think about that. If you got your water in, you wouldn't eat as much. If you don't eat as much, then you're not eating excessively. Then you're not putting on pounds. This is Marquise. I'm having a whole lot of fun. Those of you who sign up for the 15 pounds in 30 days program, listen, I can't wait because we're going to talk about this and more, and we're going to break it down and discover how you're going to win the water game so that you actually have a full life that allows you to experience greatness and walk outside with no coat on, whether the temperature is below freezing or not, because you're going to learn to breathe and actually enjoy life. Talk to you guys soon. Ciao.